Hey guys, welcome back to another NRL Fantasy Fanatics Buy Hold Sell. We're here with Footy Brains Pod. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good, Will. Very, very keen now. Now that we're going into the back end of the year, 8 more rounds to go. Just keen to have 8 more trades and plenty of good decisions to make for the last couple of games.
Yeah, same. And where do you sit with Beau Fermor this week? With Dylan Lucas out, do you think he is the best centre that you could buy this week as a like-for-like replacement?
Yeah, pretty much. He's a smash buy this week, Beau Fermor. I had him as my buy last week, but still just over 700k. He hasn't really changed much price since like where he started the season at. Now that he had a few bad games, I remember during Origin. So he kind of came down a little bit in price because I remember him being nearly 800k. But yeah, now that he's around 700k, absolutely buy him. He's going to be great for the run home.
Yeah, I think that dual position so handy and no buys left also with
Yeah.
break even. It's very hittable for him for sure there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Do you think he's not going to lose any minutes with old mate back?
Fafita, no. Fafita was coming on through the
Middle,
middle,
yeah.
actually. Yeah, it was kind of surprising that Randall stayed on the field. And mate, props to you for picking up Randall and holding him all these weeks. He's absolutely been killing it. But yeah, Fafita coming on through the middle was an interesting one. So I think Randall and Fermor are safe for minutes on an edge.
Yeah, I think he's been playing incredible there, Chris Randall. I don't think anyone's really going to take minutes off him.
Yeah,
He's been probably one of their shining lights. And Latrell
exactly.
Mitchell, 730k with the out to Cody Walker and a decimated team there. I personally think that Latrell Mitchell is probably the best wing fullback you could buy this week. Do you agree?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He's a smash buy this week. He's dropped he started the season at 800k from memory, and he's dropped about 70k. So, yeah, he's prime buy at the moment. He still scores really well at fullback. Like you said, he'll be doing a bit more work with Cody Walker out. He's even with Humphreys in the team, he still does a lot of kicking anyway. So, yeah, Latrell, great buy. Rabbitohs need to do a lot of work to make the eight, and I mean, it's still possible. I don't think they'll do it, but Latrell will be working hard, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks to see if they can turn their season around. So
Yeah,
we'll
and
see.
then a bit of in-play kicking because, like you see those games that we've been playing a fullback, he's been kicking huge meters there. Do you think that 600-ish meters could very much be sustained?
Oh, I don't know if that's sustainable, but I think he's definitely got at least, about, 250 to 300 kick meters in him a game at least. So
Kind of
yeah,
like
that's
the
still plenty of
Drinkwater
pace.
or Ponga roll where he does a little bit of like left foot kicking there when they need him to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He'll pop up here and there when he needs to, but he won't do all the kicking either.
Yeah. They have Humphreys back now.
Yeah, exactly. Humphreys, it's been kind of weird with Humphreys back. He hasn't really hit his straps like he did at the start of the season, where he was like a smash buy. Obviously, Latrell was out at the time and wasn't playing, but he just hasn't. I don't know. He just isn't hitting the same stats that he did at the start of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tino was one of the middles at 616k over the screaming buy. I think you look at that at 56.2 average, which is 10 points undervalued. I mean, you're not really buying players for value now, but you know what Tino can do as one of the best mids. Do you think at 616k now that Origin is finished, he is a very good buy?
Yeah, he's a smash buy at this point,
Yeah.
and even though he's not owned by anyone in the top 100, I would assume that stat is going to completely flip by next week. I think he's probably going to be closer to 50% owned in that top 100 and even top 1,000, to be honest, because he, at his price right now, is an absolute must buy. Because when he's given the minutes at lock, yeah, he can put up 60s pretty comfortably.
And
So yeah, get him in.
they're still theoretically, they can still make the finals theoretically, and I think he's so important for their pack there.
Yeah, theoretically they can, but what's the likelihood? Yeah, very low. They're similar to Parramatta. Like theoretically
Yeah.
they can, but I just don't think they have the firepower to make the eight.
And another player that I'm quite interested in and has had a pretty down season, but I think can very much bounce back at 627k, which is very cheap for Harry Grant. Do you have any interest in him as being a season-long keeper, or do you think that his time has kind of sailed and there's better hookers now?
So I guess it depends on the composition of your team, right? Because I think you don't even need another hooker. If you've got Aaron Clark, you can pretty much lock him into your hooker role and just not even worry about another hooker at this point. Harry Grant is interesting, but at 627k, it depends on if you think you're going to get regular 50 plus scores out of him or not. He definitely has the capability to do it, and we've seen him do it in previous seasons. This year, he's been kind of hit and miss. I don't hate the buy, but because there's just so many better and more reliable options in your mids, like we said, Tino's even cheaper than him, and he's probably more reliable in your mids and can give you like bigger scores as well. I just think you can spend that cash probably better elsewhere than buying another hooker. But again, not a bad pod play, owned in less than 10% of teams. So if you really want to climb rank and you think Harry Grant can get you some big scores, yeah, don't hate it at all as a buy.
I think there's a lot of pod plays that you could really go with this week that could really change up your season.
Exactly. This week's kind of cool because there's so many players that now that Origin's in the, on the back burner, there's no need to worry about it anymore. We've got all of our players back, or most of them back. Um, there's so many players that you can buy into. They're all less than 10 to 15% owned. So there's no real consensus at the top on who are the must-have players for the run home. Yes, there's your obvious ones like your Haases and your Mays and whatnot, but there's a lot of players that are on the outskirts that you could potentially buy now as keepers for the run home that are big pod players that are less than 5% owned, less than 10% owned. So yeah, I mean I think it's going to be personal taste out of a lot of these players, and if you think they have a good run or you think that they can get up over the next couple of weeks and give you some big scores, that you'll buy into them.
I mean, I think the thing about Harry is he's has been like a season long keeper for many years, and that
Yeah,
is that's the one, like so many of them have been season long keepers for so many years, which I think is something to keep in mind when bringing a lot of these players.
yeah,
And this is
exactly.
where we bounce back to Nicho Hines, who's one that has I think he's come back a little bit, looked to run the ball and scored that 93 there. Where do you sit with Nicho Hines this week?
Yeah, I've had Hines since round one this year, and look, I've been obviously disappointed compared to what he produced in previous seasons, but I mean, he's averaged 54 over the course of the year with his first 90 this week, so I'm not hugely upset, to be honest. Hines is another one of those players that's going to be a big pod play. Sharks need to really show a bit of form now going into the this run home, this run of 8 games. They haven't really looked that great. Even the game that he just had with a 93, he was probably good in the first 10 to 15 minutes and good in the last 10 to 15 minutes. The middle part of the game, he was kind of in and out, disappeared a few errors. So, yeah, I don't hate Hines as a pod play, but then again, he's not going to be the safest option either. So, another one of those players that's kind of on the outskirts of being your starting halves, but can definitely on his day be an absolute gun. So yeah, I'd rate Hines as a bit of a pod for sure.
Yeah, but I think the thing is he's had two scores over 60 this season, and like I guess you're kind of buying him not to average 60 at this type of price, but I don't think that you're gonna get this every single week. Like
Correct. You're
yeah,
buying him to hopefully give you a 90 again in the next couple of weeks, kind of like Hughes did over the last couple of weeks, right? When Munster hasn't been playing for the Storm, Hughes has given you a couple of 90s or a couple of 80s, I think, actually, off rip. So you kind of want that from Hines over the next couple of weeks. He's not going to give you it every week, but if he averages around the 50 mark and then gives you a couple of 80s here and there, or a 70 here or there, you're going to be pretty happy.
yeah, and I do think that another guy that I think is a screaming buy and is very much of a pod in the top 5,000 is Connor Watson. Where do you sit with him versus Tino, like as buying as a middle this week or this year?
Yeah, Watson's becoming less and less of a pod every week now. Last
Yeah,
week, I think his percentage increased by about 3.5% because he was under 10% coming into last week from memory. So he'll probably get closer to probably 15, 16% by the start of this round as well. So I like Watson as a play. He's probably your safer option, like you saw at the start of the year. He was, easily getting in the 50s and then, and 60, 70 here or there. Um, do I think he'll be the best option? Probably not, but he's obviously a good option just in case there are injuries to your hookers, are injuries to your mids, because you can plug him in. So I do like Watson as that kind of coverage player. You can chuck him on your bench. If anything happens to Aaron Clark, he comes into hooker and you can trade Aaron to another gun elsewhere. Um, yeah, Watson, great option, just not the pod play I think you probably want, but safe option for sure.
yeah, I do think that he will be a season long keeper there, and
Absolutely.
that 39 break even is very very enticing there, where he's going to make a lot of money. But you're not really buying players to make money at this type of stage, are you?
No, we're buying points right now. We're buying
Yeah.
into points for sure.
So Herbie, 877K. There's not much to say, is there? He's just a must buy, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he's a must buy, but at the same time, everyone has him. So I'm kind of anti-potting Herbie a little bit and just hoping for his demise. Not an injury or anything, but just some, more relatively tame scores. I'm hoping he drops back to scoring 50s because at this point, I really don't want to spend 850k on Herbie when I can spend like mid 600Ks to get a player that can give me 60 odd points a week, right? Because Herbie, yes, he can give you the 70s and the 80s. What did he get last week? Like a 70 something odd last week. I could probably get that from a Tino on a good day. Yes, it won't be as consistent, but I could definitely get that from someone else. So I'm I'm being a bit hesitant to try to must have Herbie because then again, we got to think he's a center. Like he's going to have games where he doesn't do as well. Yes, his form over the last 5, 6 weeks has been incredible, and I'd want him in my team. But when you look towards the start of the season, very much 50s week in, week out. Does that make sense? Is that kind of clear? Like he's a good player. Yes, I want him in my team, but 850k, I feel like I could invest that better elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. I get what you're saying there. Like to a player, like you just look at the people that are around 800 or lower. It's like you got Haas there, or Keon, or May, or Katoa, or
Exactly.
Cleary. Like you'd
Yeah.
say that he's just not really on their level, is he?
No, he's not. But I mean, he's shown that he is over the last 5 weeks, and he can be. But he's also scored a try nearly every week for the
Yeah.
last 5 weeks. So yes, I want him, but I'm not going to break my team to get him in, especially with the limited trades we have at the moment.
And then yeah, Angus Crichton. Where do you sit with him? He's a very another one that after Origin is very underpriced. Very much of a pod too at 44 break even. Do you think he's a buy, or is it one that's a little bit trappy to you?
He's another pot option for sure. He's I wouldn't say trap, but he definitely showed last year that he can have his days and have his run of games where he scores a bunch of tries, gets a bunch of tackle busts, and looks really good. I don't see him as probably one of the top edges to finish the season with, but he's one of those guys that I think at 610k you'd be pretty happy to bring in and hopefully get some, 50, 60 scores off him. Yes, he has those games where he, doesn't really get involved, probably gets you a 20 or a 30, but more often than not, you see him get heavily involved in attack, plenty of tackle busts, and a try here and there as well. So at 610k, I would still buy into him if you needed an edge.
Yeah, and I do think that he still has a lot of money to make, and on they look like they're doing well there, the Roosters, where he can probably get a couple of those attacking stats.
Exactly. Yeah, they're definitely coming into their own, the Roosters, and they need to hold that top 8 spot. So I think he's going to get heavily involved in this last couple of games.
And then where do you sit with Isaiah Katoa? He's kind of not really fallen off, like he's still playing well, but not scoring those consistent 60s as we've seen the last couple of weeks. Has a buy next week. Do you still think he's a buy at 727k, or is there better half options that you would go to?
Yeah, I still think he's probably the safer half option to have for sure. If I 100% needed to buy a half today, like this week, to put into my team, I don't think I'd buy Katoa. I think I'd probably go for like a Hines or even a Jayden Campbell just at their price. But I think he will definitely be a buy post the buy round. So yes, he is a good option in your halves, and if you have him, you're holding on to him. But if you need a half today, I don't think he's probably the best option to buy. So in my team, I'm looking at Katoa, but I just wouldn't be buying him today. I think I'm going to wait until round 21, 22, 22 after their buy. And that'll be the time that I bring him in if he shows that he can still score well again. Because Sean O'Sullivan in the halves, I think he has some kick meters to his name normally. I think he kicks a little bit, which might take away from Katoa. So definitely one to look at this week and see what happens.
Yeah, I do think he's so important for the Dolphins, and they are very very close to getting the back into like to get into the top 8 too. Which
Yeah.
I do think that after that bye, he's just gonna have to do everything for them.
Yeah. Would you buy him this week if you didn't have him already, knowing that he has a buy next week and he's got a high break even this week, knowing he could be cheaper after his buy as well? Would you buy into him now?
No, I wouldn't. If you need a half, you maybe you could, but I'd try to find someone else that like I don't know because you say Fogarty has also a buy in round 24. The only one really doesn't have any buys left is Jayden Campbell.
Yeah, surprisingly cheap as well,
You
Jayden Campbell.
could
He's
you
he's
could
dropped.
buy Campbell and then move Campbell down to your wing fullback for next week,
Exactly.
which is probably the only viable option if you were going to get Isaiah Katoa. And
Yeah,
let's talk
I
about him
agree with that.
there.
Yeah.
At 81 break even. I brought him in last week, and I mean that 35. I'm going to say is an absolute. I'm taking it every day because he was on about seven at half time or something.
Yeah, he was
Six,
struggling. He was
six at
very
half
frustrating.
time, and where do you sit with Jayden at an 81 break even, 627k? Do you still think you buy him this week and hope that they could go? He could go big against the Tigers, or does he have another week and then buy him?
No, I'm still smash buying him this week if you don't have him already. He's obviously going to get cheaper next week. Well, most likely he will. He could definitely hit that 81 break even. He's scored over 80, I think, early this season as well. Um, I'm not too worried about Jayden Campbell at all. He'll get back into the swing of things. He'll start getting plenty of kick meters, start getting involved more in attack. So if you don't have him already, I think I'd be buying into him this week, irregardless. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that his kick meters have probably been a little bit lower as he was returning from not a big injury, but a head injury. And I do think that he looked really good running the ball too. Like he almost scored a try there, and
Yeah.
he was very, very close a couple of times.
Yeah, I think he got held up over the line. He had
Yeah,
so many
and
missed
then
tackles in the first 10 minutes as well. They were killing him, the
he
Broncos.
had a pass to Chris Randall who dove over the line and got held up. But if
Yeah.
that try got called, I'll probably be in the top 100 this week.
Oh, really? You scored that well this
No,
week,
but
just
like
for
I'm saying, because I had Campbell try assist and the Randall
and
try.
the Randall one. Yeah. Yeah, it could have been a big points haul for sure if that got through, yeah.
Yeah, but I still think he's a very good option there. Adam Doueihi, the
Absolutely.
guy that plays every position. This is his seventh position playing a lock now, and I don't really think we can filter it by position because he never played there. But 85, 56, 58, 52 the last 4 weeks, he's been playing incredible with a 14 break even and a dual position to centre. Where do you think that he sits as of right now?
Oh, to be honest, I do not know what to make of Dewey. I love him as a player, and I've had him a lot in previous seasons and been disappointed by the injuries, but he's just so hard to just pin down a position. Like it's so hard to pick him up knowing that he could always go back to center and he could turn out poorly. Yes, he's shown some good recent form, but he's nearly 600k now. He's such a risky one. Look, if you believe in him and you believe he'll keep, these scores up, feel free to dive in, but he's got way too much risk for me to pick him up at the moment. I think I'd much prefer to go like a Crichton or a Tino or someone else around that 600k mark than Dewey at 50k cheaper. It's just so much risk. But then again, he's shown in the last couple of weeks that he can pull off big scores. So make of that what you will. I think it's a personal decision to go with Dewey. He also has the buy as well, so you got to keep that in mind.
I think for Doueihi, it's really like at 13 he could really excel because you see when he playing a 5'8", that's his best position. That's where he scores the best.
Yeah.
And that's the closest thing to 5'8". And if anything, you get more tackles, which could be a good thing for Doueihi, which could be a bad thing for Doueihi considering the missed tackle count.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting thing to take out of this, right? He does miss a lot of tackles on an edge. You put him in the middle of the park, and what's that going to turn into? Yes, you've
I
got bigger
wonder,
players around him,
yeah, if
but
he's more like bigger plays and he's going to come more third in and make kind of like that 30 tackles a game. Because you've seen like he's quite a big body. Like he's definitely the size to play 13.
yeah, correct. But how much energy will he have left to get involved in attack is the next side of that coin. So it'll be an interesting one. I think it's just one that I'm just going to let go through the keeper and not be too phased by. It'll really annoy me though if he comes out and scores like a 60 or a 70 at lock and plays big minutes. That would
Yeah, well,
actually
this
annoy
week I'm
me.
pulling the trigger on it. I just think I don't have much
Fair
else to
enough.
lose this season, and for me, it's yeah, I've got not much else to lose. So
To be honest, I still don't hate it. Like, there's every chance that he could succeed at lock. Now that Tailon May has come in at centre, who's another player that'll be kind of interesting this week. If once he gets added to fantasy and we see what his price is. But yeah, Dewey could pay off, could turn bad. You don't really know. He's never played lock before. We'll just have to wait and see.
yeah, and it's a very interesting pod there. And then 695k, which is a bit of a discount there for 78 break even. Had a pretty bad score against the Broncos and bounced back on the weekend. Where do you sit with Jacob Preston?
Yeah, still love Preston. He's still a good buy at edge. Obviously, there's some cheaper options, but Preston, will get involved in the attack, and a lot of the Bulldogs' attack does flow through him, and he gets a lot of balls. So I'm very much a candidate, an advocate for Preston as a buy this week, but I still know that there's tons of other options that you could go as well. So like we said at the start, there's so many options you can go here. Kind of go your personal preference. He has probably the best run. I think the Dogs run is one of the better runs home than other teams. I think the Dogs and the Titans, Dogs, Titans, and Tigers have a pretty good run from memory. So there's some players from there that you can pick out and go, okay, they might be better pods than others.
Yeah, you could definitely there, and I do think that he doesn't have much to lose. Like he is playing on the best side too in the comp, or close to
Yeah.
the best side in the comp. And there's not really many keeper edges that many people have in their team, other than like probably a key on there, which I do think that if you have a key on Preston, could be the other keeper edge that you go with him or Eli Katoa, really.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so if you have to pick the top two edges, you're probably saying well, on Keon's previous form, Keon and then Eli Katoa's probably the inform edge
Nat
at the
White,
moment.
he's up
Naf
there.
White also very good. I'm still skeptical of Naf White, but I'm sure we'll get to him, right? I'm sure he's on
Yeah.
this list.
Oh, we'll get to him right now. He's actually not on this list.
Okay, right. We can discuss a bit of Naf White. So he's obviously an interesting one over Origin, and since he came back from injury, has had a few good, well, few
60,
very good scores.
75, 58.
Yeah, but I'm going to get skeptical of his minutes coming into the back end of this year. Obviously, they've got a lot of juniors running around in the Roosters pack, but now that you bring back their big game players, I guess Victor Radley, Lindsay Collins comes back in. They'll get Nat Butcher back as well towards the back end of this year. I think he's predicted back in around 22, 23. There'll be some more big bodies in this forward pack. I am just a bit skeptical that he'll maintain high minutes. He'll probably still get around the 50-minute mark, but whether that's enough to maintain 60 plus scores, I'm a bit skeptical of. I'd still hold him for sure if I have him. There's no doubt about that, but I just don't think I'd buy into him at this
You
point.
don't think he's earned the big minute role yet?
Oh,
Like,
he's definitely earned it, and he'll still
yeah,
get like decent minutes. I just don't think he'll get like 70 plus, if
yeah.
that's yeah.
Which I mean, not many props do, to be fair.
Exactly, yeah. You're not Haas or Terrell May. You're not going to get those kind of minutes.
And yeah, Dylan Lucas clear sell, isn't he?
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah,
He did that. They confirmed he was out for the season, right? That
yeah. Let's
was
frank.
yep, unfortunate.
This is an interesting one. We see with Hugo Savala. So he just put up a 41 there with Sam Walker back. Very good defender he is, Hugo, and 317 kick meters there. So, but out for 2 weeks, I think there. Personally, I'm selling him at 600k. He's made me enough cash, and I can move him on to a better. Like you can move him 20k off. Getting old mate Campbell.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'll come back into this team, yes, when he's back from injury. But look, he's made his cash. Now he's playing 5'8" with Sam Walker back. I don't think he's going to get back to scoring 50 plus now that Walker's back. He'll take all those kick meters over the next couple of weeks, and he'll work his way up to pretty much taking, if not most, if not all of those kick meters from Savala. Yeah, it's unfortunate because Savala probably looks like their future at halfback. Because Sam Walker's so injury prone, it seems. So, yeah, Savala, sell him off now. You've made the cash with him, and you can just move to better keepers for the run home.
Yeah, and I do think that, as you said, there's so many more halves that you can move them up to now.
Yep.
So we see with Payne Haas, high-ish break even then. People were saying that their back does worry him with that injury there. By this week, do you think at 873k he's one that can sell, or is he just a clear hold? In my eyes, I would say last week you could have maybe sold him. There could have been an argument, but if you hold him last week, you hold him this weekend for the rest of the season, unless his back gets bad and he starts losing minutes or missing time.
He's a clear hold in my eyes. We saw
Yeah.
that even with injuries, he can perform quite well. So until he's ruled out for the rest of the season, which I don't think will happen, I think he'll, even with a few niggling injuries, I think he'll work through them and play for the rest of the year. Yeah, he's a hold for sure. I wouldn't be selling him at all, especially if you've still got him in your team this week.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's sold by 0.9% of teams.
Yeah, I think they're just players that, or coaches that need players this week, which understandable with Cleary out, Yeo out. If you have a lot of Broncos players already, say you've got Walsh, you've got Haas, you've got Karapani in your team, yeah, I can understand you probably need to make some moves, but Haas is not one of them. You got to hold him.
Yeah, and where do you think you see with Carapani? I was looking at Longy, and he reckons that Carapani's a sell.
Yeah, I Agree with him completely as well. I think Karapani, you can jump off him now. 424k. He's probably got some good scores still left in him, but I think you could probably move on to him, probably nuff him out to like a Talon De Silva or a Josh Papalii, and then use that cash elsewhere. I don't think there's a need to hold on to him anymore.
Yeah, and then he's got here Isaiah Katoa. Sorry, Isaah Yeo. 724k, not playing this week. Where do you sit with him now? Is he a hold or and if not, do you think he could be a buy next week?
Yeah, he's 100% a buy next week, and he's definitely a hold this week if you've already got him. I saw at the start of this week a lot of players were already buying him preemptively, bringing him into their teams before team lists, and saw that he was rested. So, yeah, if you've got him, you're holding him. If you don't have him, you're buying him next week. Either way, he's going to be a guy you want in your team for the run home, especially at 724k. He's a lot cheaper than he has been in previous years, and I could see him easily going up over 800k in the next month of football as long as he, plays 80 minutes a game.
I did trade him this week in before lockout was lifted before he got rested.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people did the exact same, just knowing that you want him. Like he's a guy that's been top three for the last 4 years in a row, top three in fantasy for the last couple of years in a row. So you absolutely want him in your team this year.
Yeah, and I do think that he is one of the better players, like better mids. Like, do you reckon he'll be third or fourth best mid?
Oh, it depends where Tino gets to over the next couple of weeks and if he can get some good scores. But I think on current form, it's probably May, Yeo, and Haas as your best three mids. Kalol Matangi, if he can bounce back, because he did have a couple poor scores, if he could bounce back to where he was before, then I would say Kalol Matangi is probably a top three and he becomes a fourth, Yeo. But he's definitely in the top five, Yeo, for
And
sure.
no Aaron Clark in there, even though he is a hooker. But if he were to move him down the middle,
I guess if we're adding Aaron Clark into the mix, yeah, Yo becomes a no. I'd still put Yo at fourth and Aaron Clark at five. I think, yeah. As
yeah,
much as I
fair
love
enough.
Clark and he's been so consistent, I think Yo, just given the many years that he's done it, Yo's number four.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And then the very last one is Lachlan Galvin. Where do you sit with Lachlan Galvin this week? He's one that I have currently brought into my side, and I don't know if that's suicide or if that's a good buy this week. But 45 break even, which is definitely hittable for Lachlan Galvin. Where do you sit with Galvin?
Mate, I love it. I love it. It's a nice pod play. I think he definitely can perform in this Dogs pack. I mean, we saw him perform in a Tigers team where they were losing nearly every week and he was still smashing out 50s. So it's definitely possible that Galvin comes out and starts scoring 50s with Sexton amongst the reserves. I'm really skeptical on whether Serraldo brings Sexton back in on the bench and tries to play him through Dunny half before he goes off to the Super League next year. But Galvin at that price is very good value for what he'll do in this Dogs team as long as he's starting at halfback. So I think he's one that I'm going to watch. I'm going to give him at least 1 week just to see how he goes against the Dragons, which at the same time is a team that he could absolutely pump and the Dogs could pump here. So if you jump on him early, yes, there's risk, but there's also reward if he can have a pretty good score this week. So for the safe players out there, give him a week. For those that really want to jump on a bit of a pod and get in there early, yeah, I don't mind Galvin as a buy either.
Yeah, and then do you have any last plays that you'd like to talk about, or do you think that's covered it all pretty much?
I guess want to get your thoughts on Tailon May a little bit this week because he's not in fantasy yet, but he obviously has been previously at the Panthers, I guess, is the main thing, right? He played center there, was an absolute gun, and made a ton of cash for those that picked him up when he was a cheapie. But now that he's at the Titans, yes, he had a huge game in the New South Wales Cup, scored a hat trick. But what do you think his outlook looks like over this last run of games?
I really do think that his outlook, I think it's one you got to look at. Like, it'll probably be 500-ish K around there. And I think that that's probably a little bit too much to buy for Taylor May on a not very good Tigers team. It kills me to say, considering I go for them. But like you look, he's so inconsistent for the Panthers, who were in a dynasty when he was playing for them.
Yeah,
So it's like if he's going to be if he's not consistent for Penrith, what's he going to be like for the Tigers? And like you look like players like Taruva is one who scored the try pretty much every game for the Panthers when he was there, and he hasn't scored many tries at all for the whatever the face is for the Tigers.
yeah.
Where do you sit?
Yeah, he's one that I was considering, but I've kind of fallen off on just like thinking about it and looking at his scores. Yes, like he can play really well and get big scores, but for the Tigers, I just don't see it happening. And I think it's way too risky to just jump on him from the get-go. It'd be interesting to see what price he comes in at, though. I think it'll probably be around the 500, 550 mark, just because they always go a bit conservative for previous players, NRL fantasy. So yeah, one that you could jump on, definitely in a draft league. I'd absolutely pick him up and chuck him on your bench for sure. He'll be good for finals if he does perform well, but I don't think for classic would be buying into him. And
Yeah.
another one, actually, there's a three players that I wanted to get your take on. So, Tailon May, one. Do you have anything else on Tailon you wanted to bring
No,
up?
I think yeah, it's a bit risky. I'd take Doueihi over him, but I
Yeah,
do
correct.
think that if you're willing to take the risk, it could pay off. But I'd say most likely it won't.
Yeah, I agree. I guess my other one is Jack Wighton, who now with Cody Walker out for the season is playing 5'8". And we did see last year that when he moved to 5'8", had some better scores, probably averaged around the 40 mark there. And he is at about the same price as Galvin. But wanted to get your thoughts on him and if the Rabbitohs do kind of turn their season around a bit, do you think he could benefit?
I think the thing about yeah, 44.9 average while playing at 5'8". I do think, as you said there, the key is turning their season around. I think the thing that makes me lean a bit more towards Galvin is he's playing on such a better team.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But we all know what Jack Whiting can do. Like he didn't single-handedly, but he made the Raiders relevant out of nowhere. Like their team on paper wasn't very good. And I think if you have Latrell there and you have Jack Whiting, anything can really happen. And they are. So I do think that again, it's a risk, but I would almost argue that it's a bit less riskier than having Galvin there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those scores, his base is around the 40 mark, really, because he gets a decent amount of kick meters and plenty of tackles last year. This year, the games that he's played, yeah, as you're showing there, this year he hasn't been as good at 5'8", but that's because the Rabbitohs also haven't been
And
as good
his
either.
kick meters are a bit down too.
Yeah, and I think those games were the ones that Latrell potentially played in as well and took a lot of kick meters.
Well,
So maybe it's the case.
he wouldn't have played round 18 because that was
uh,
last week.
yeah, but I mean, Latrell's probably taken a few kick meters off him. The fact that he's doing a lot of the in-game kicking as well, and Humphreys as well is another big kicking half. So
Yeah.
yeah, just one to consider. Good for draft leagues if he's sitting amongst the free agency list because he'll get some decent scores now. Um, and the other one, Joash Papalii. Now that we see Dylan Brown demoted, he's out of the squad completely at Parramatta. What do you think your outlook on him is? Would you go him over a Talon De Silva as like a cash out option because they're both at 230k,
Started at hooker. Is he starting at 6 this weekend?
starting at 6? Yep.
33 with the last game he played at 6 there, and then pretty much playing at 6 in that game against the Eagles. I mean, I don't think there's really much that you can lose. Like he's 230k, but who would I take him over? Is
Yeah, Talon De Silva is the other one because they're cash out options, right? So you're not really expecting huge scores. You just want a guy that you can cash out to 230k, save a bunch of cash and
yeah,
upgrade your team elsewhere. But they're guys that you know, if you have a few injuries, you run out of trades or whatever, you might have to play
yeah.
or plug
Well,
and play.
thinking about that, I think that I'd take Papali over Talon Silva, just considering the fact that he's at 5'8", and when Moses comes back, they're going to become a better team. But the risk is Moses comes back, they move the team around, and he's kicked out of the halves, or two bad performances, and Brown's back in. But then I think it's the same with Talon De Silva. Is the hooking position has been so unreliable for the Eels this year that you can't really choose who's going to go and where.
Yeah. I don't really, to be honest, I like both options as cash out options. They're both probably going to get you 30 odd scores. I don't think they'll go amazingly unless they have a couple of tries or some, huge attacking stats, but they're both cash out options that should be playing for the rest of the season. Like I'm a Parramatta fan and I really don't think they're going to play Dylan Brown anymore. He signed that big deal with the Knights. I think Riles has just moved on from him and said, look, we're focusing on our future. You're not in the picture. Sorry. It is what it is. And with Joash, they're trying to play him through the halves, which is interesting because I thought he was originally brought on to be a fullback, but that's going to be hopefully where they play him for the rest of the season and give him a bit of experience in the starting team. And with Talon, I think Riley Smith and Talon, they're just going to kind of be interchangeable, which will be interesting to see what their minutes look like. And I hope they don't turn into a Lussick hands situation with those two, but we'll see.
Yeah, so who would you lean towards between the two though?
I kind of, it depends what positions you need because Papalii will probably get half dual position next week and he'll be half winger fullback, I hope. Whereas Tailon covers your hooker position. So if you need an extra hooker, I'm going Tailon because I don't have a backup hooker. And if Aaron Clark goes down, I'll need someone. And I'm investing money in other players instead of Connor Watson. Whereas if you need a fullback or you need a winger fullback or a half, say you need to fill Cleary's position for 1 week, Joe Ash isn't too bad of an option for this week, and then you chuck him in your emergencies for the rest of the season. Could be a play. Yeah, I think it's positional, really. If you need certain positions to have cover for, go for that player.
Yeah, and is there any last plays that you really want to talk about, or does that cover them all?
Uh, last one, just lucky last. Jeremy Marshall King. Probably bring up his stats there because he's it'll be relevant. Back from injury, back into the team, and made 60 odd tackles the other week. What are your thoughts on him?
And feel like he's always been relevant, and he's always been a very good buy cover, like through those buy coverage rounds. And I think there is a lot of hookers this year that are very good. Like I think you got the likes of Aaron Clark, Connor Watson. For me, I got Chris Randall and Tom Starling, and it's just a matter of fact, does Marshall King? He's not going to be as good as Aaron Clark, and he could be your secondary hooker. But for me, I'm leaning towards more of that Chris Randall, like that type of player. But if you were to like have Tom Starling and you had a lot of trades left over, I would almost take Jeremy Marshall King over Tom Starling. But is there any worry that Kurt Donohoe could stint Marshall King's minutes?
Potentially if they move him through hooker, but I think they're pretty much set on playing him through lock because of the injuries they've had there. So I think Donohoe is going to be the lock for them for the rest of the season. I don't think Marshall King will lose minutes at all at this point. He's just a very Marshall King. Yes, he gets a lot of base stats, but his big scores come when he gets involved in the attack. So he's kind of like Blake Brayley, right? Like they need to get involved in the attack to actually have good fantasy value. But at the price that he's at, under 600k, just another name I thought I'd throw out there as a bit of a pot option because he's low percentage owned and he's got some big scores in him. So just another one to think about.
Yeah, it's and low break even there too. But
Exactly.
probably if you were to buy him, I'd probably wait one more week and then buy him after that buy.
Yeah, not a bad shout at all. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thanks, mate. We'll see you next week. Good luck to your team this week too. You're gonna need it.
Cheers, Will.